All right. For our poets, open mics and talent compositions. There is a wonderful, wonderful book that I forgot to bring called Poets and Writers through the Writers Market. And in there, it's chock full of competitions. And also watch Motown Writers. Sylvia is always pumping opportunities for authors and poets to showcase their work. All right, resources. Free webs. They are free, but you have to pay for hosting in your domain. Another great one is Dynamite. They are wonderful, and you can pay as little as $15 a month. And they do like flash design, they do newsletters. How many of you are familiar with Marsha Carter? Marsha Carter's website is powered through Dynamite. And her website, if you've been to it, is very nice. You can upload music, you can upload poetry. YouTube. Make sure you get a YouTube channel. Get a YouTube channel, and you can upload your poetry. You can do even a mini talk show. I would love for someone to do a talk show via YouTube. And another great one, Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio is awesome, and I believe it was Sylvia said she called in a one Blog Talk Radio show and sold like 3 books or so just by calling in and saying what she does. Speak, as my grandmother would say, closed mouths don't get fed. She put it real plain, just like that. Your headshots. That's another important tool. When you send things out to, let's say, for example, Black Magazine, Real Detroit, Metro Times, when you post your events, a lot of times they'll want a headshot or some sort of photo. So taking pictures on your camera phone, I mean, I love Lady Gaga and Beyonce, but that's just not gonna cut it. You need to get professional headshots done. And I also have a listing here of some photographers that I'm affiliated with and have used for my headshots. Phil Rhodes, Ken Anderson. How many of you are familiar with Mosaic Youth Theater? Love those kids over at Mosaic. Ken was the creative director at Mosaic before he launched his very successful photography company. Our Harani, how many of you are familiar with Harani Studios? Heard of Harani? They've been around for years. He's definitely a mainstay, but his son has taken over the business, Ara, and he is fantastic, and tell him I sent you, he'll work with you. Blogs, newsletters, and podcasts. Examiner. How many are familiar with examiner.com? There are a few examiners that I know of. I believe Honeycomb is an examiner. Matt Vega, who's also a poet, is an examiner. They need things to write, because the way it works is when you're an examiner, you get paid based on how many times someone reviews your article. So please give them articles. They will be happy, you will be happy, and that's what we call a win-win situation. Troubadour 21, as stated, is over here, and they'll be more than happy to talk to you about your project. They review several books, and like I said, they get a lot of foot traffic, and that's what you want, is foot traffic to their site, which then turns foot traffic back to your site. And make sure on your website, be it Dynamite, Free Webs, or whomever, make sure you track how many visits you're getting, because that's what leads you to sponsorship. Somebody say sponsorship.
Sponsorship.
How many of us want sponsorship? Okay, can I get an amen?
Amen.
We want sponsorship. So whenever you do an event, you want to track your demographics, because that's what they're going to ask, and that's how you create sponsorship for yourself. All right, performance and features. Please log on to poetrypagescribes.com for a listing of events. Poetry Pages and Scribes happens the first Thursday of every month, and we have features. We've had featured musicians. We've had featured poets. So make inquiries about featuring at various events. I'm happy to say that we're booked all the way through 2011, so I'm very excited about that. Spring-Fed Arts is another great organization run by M.L. Liebler, which happens to be a professor here at Wayne State University, and they have ongoing events. Also, Echoverse Poetry, just to name a few. is a poetry house where they have featured artists. Even if you're not a poet, again, you have to think about positioning yourself. Poets can position themselves as facilitators. Poets can position themselves as speakers. You can be a public speaker that happens to be a poet. You could be a reviewer. You could be a critic, because poets are like water. They can adapt themselves to their environment.